off. She forgot to turn her mic on. Got to turn on our mic, Miss Lady, but we got it on now. Got a new engineer behind the scenes, and we're looking for her to do very positive for us. We're running a little late. Just got to come into the studio itself, but we're glad to be here. All those who have heard from us before, taking the journey together. I'm Imar.
And I'm Sharon.
All right, all right. And we're looking forward to have you all go get your friends, get your neighbors, get your girlfriend, get your boyfriend, get your anybody and everybody in between to stick to our show. We're going to have a very good show. We're looking forward for those who have been to our show before, or at least have heard us before. We're looking for you to, to hopefully be able to get something out of what we're doing. Look at she's putting on my button already. Yeah, because we were a little slow getting here. Actually, we've been out and around Savannah all day, Savannah, Georgia, right here in where, Sharon? Where's Savannah, Georgia?
In Savannah, Georgia.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, but we've not had a chance to do that in a while, and with my job, I don't get to do it as often as you do, and so I missed that. So I was enjoying being out there today, and time just went so fast.
Out and around what we call what is it, Savannah? Is that what you call it?
About around the town.
Around the town, yeah, exactly. So we really enjoyed ourselves. So what are we going to say to the people who are watching us? What is this show all about? Come to think of it,
we are going to relate. It doesn't matter what your mother, father, sister, brother, or even Jesus says. We are going to relate. But at Taking the Journey Together, we believe in showing people how to relate in a balanced way.
A balanced way?
A balanced way.
Okay.
And what I mean by a balanced way,
like cups on your head, cups on the car. I mean, what do you mean by balanced way?
Standing on one foot with, anyway.
Walking and chewing and rubbing your stomach at the same time.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Now that's coordination.
That's coordination. But sometimes you got to be in coordinate in a relationship too. Come on now, you know that.
But when I talk about a balanced way, what we are talking about is finding someone that you are interested in and you have something in common with, and build a friendship with that person.
Okay.
And once you have that friendship solidified and you're still building on that friendship and it goes to the next level, let it go naturally into the next level of lovership.
Okay.
And then when you decide to be in a committed relationship with that person, you are in a relationship with your friend and your lover.
Friend and lover, yes.
So you don't have to choose between, well, I'll marry my friend, no, I'll marry my lover, no, you don't have to choose because they're both the same person.
All right, okay. Dr. Jekyll and Mrs. Hyde. No, just joking.
Well,
sometimes it can be that way, huh?
Yeah.
But at least with some kind of balance to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Think you make things that makes you go home. So let's real quickly show folks about what we have that we offer too at the same time, which usually helps the radio station. I got to go on this side too. What is it? What is that? Yeah, it's a little crooked.
Yeah, no, it is.
Well, pick one up so they can take a look at it.
Anyway, hot button. Yes, get your hot button. I love the hot buttons. They are so much fun. And when you wear them around different places, people will look at you like, what are you trying to say?
Exactly.
And what we're trying to say is, in your relationship, we want you to be hot, honest, open, and transparent. And not just one person in the relationship, but both people in the relationship. It only works if it is on both sides. So you can get your hot button by emailing us at ttjt@takingthejourney-together.com. That's ttjt@takingthejourney-together.com. And they're only $5. And for that $5, ATR gets to benefit. Why? Because it is important that we support those who are supporting us. And so the $5 for the hot button helps us help them.
Exactly.
So we're all in this together.
We're going to talk a little bit and wait till all our usual who come in and listen from, I think it was what's that one, the guy that we usually hear all the time?
Mr. Ellis.
Yeah, Mr. Ellis. And then we have that one lady, Mrs.
Prada Too Crazy.
Prada Too Crazy. And then we have Mr. Brown, I think it is.
Yeah. lots of interesting comments from all the different people who come in,
Exactly, exactly.
and we appreciate their participation. It
Yes,
always makes it
interesting.
exactly.
Yeah, so you know what? Now make sure you share as much as you can to who you can, because our topic this show. Look at that. Our topics is attachment theory. Attachment theory. So we're going into the lab, the relationship lab, the thriving relationship lab about healthy relationships. We're looking at how do we expand them, how do we make them better, especially if you have a relationship already, you know it's got to be better, it needs to be better. You just feel deep down in your soul, in your heart, this can be better. So we're going into some theory right now, some deep theory into our relationship lab.
Taking you back to school.
Exactly. Well, there is something you never were taught in school.
And home either, for the most part.
Exactly. Relationships are not usually taught. Sometimes they're not even bought, but they should be caught.
Yes.
When it comes to relationships, especially thriving relationship. We're not talking about those relationships that are survival, where it's, trauma and drama and Atlanta wipes and the rest of that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about relationships that have a grounding to it. And that friendship is that grounding. So we're going to go into the theory of relationships right now. In this case, the very theory itself of relationship, which has to do with the word at the beginning, relate.
Yes.
If you're going to relate to one another, then the only way you're going to really relate to one another is you're going to have to somehow connect, plug in, right?
Yeah.
Graft in, bind,
Yeah.
Or in this particular case,
buy in.
Or sometimes relationships are bought to come to think of some other countries.
Yeah, you know what? I did not have that in mind when I said that, but yes.
But you did. Some countries, someone has a dowry that the family has, and with that dowry, which is a whole bunch of cattle, a whole bunch of money, stuff like that, and they get offered to the other family for that daughter.
Yes.
In a lot of countries, I don't guess the guys get to have that, by the way, but it's made to buy that daughter for that relationship, that marriage.
How much is your daughter worth? Let's put a price on. Say, I'm not even gonna go there.
Yeah, but I mean, there's relationships that are like that, and they are together for a long time.
Yep.
How deep they are, how much friendship it is, I don't know, but there's those are traditions that do that with that relationship. Come and think of it.
And some of them don't even come with a dowry. It's just, this person and this person should be together, and so they will be together, and there we go.
Exactly. So we are now talking about the very foundation of a relationship again, but in this case we're talking about attachment. I mean, if you're in a relationship, and especially if we're talking about a thriving or healthy relationship, there's got to be some kind of attachment between one another. Okay. And she's doing a physical attachment, as you can see, and I'm leaning over here. And so we're not talking about the usual physical attachment, the hanky panky that goes on, or, that intimacy, not intimacy, but it's what is it called? Not the sexual connection. That's not, everybody knows about that, but there's another word. What do we call it?
Affectionate?
No, not just that. Sometimes you have a, what is that strong sexual connection? Sometimes we look at as being
soul tie.
No, that doesn't necessarily do. That's a byproduct of a physical sexual connection. But no, sometimes you have a it could be a wrong kind of sexual connection. I forgot what it is, but we'll bring the word around.
It'll come back.
Exactly.
It'll come
so
back.
We're not just talking about a physical connection that happens in relationships. No. In this case, the attachment we're talking about is to do with your feelings, your emotions, your energy.
Yes.
Are you connecting with that person from that standpoint of view? That affection, that fondness, or sympathy for someone?
Yes.
Do you have that kind of emotional kind of connection, attachment, or connection? So we're talking about the theory that's behind it, because many of us connect in different ways when it comes to intimate relationships, or close relationships. So in this case, we're talking about long-term relationships that have to do with thriving and healthy relationships from that end. So we're going to talk a little bit more about it, and I'm going to have Sharon start this off so we can get this deep kind of theory in our lab up and running. Okay, how's that?
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Just
go ahead.
and feel free to chime in at any time.
Oh, I got only 0 up here for those who are liking it. It's kind of slow today. Maybe everybody's out in the heat. Everyone's out in the sun. I don't know why. And nobody's home. And they forgot about the step in on our Thursdays, but that's all right.
Yeah.
We're going to still go forth anyway. How's that?
And it'll always be shown again.
Exactly.
Yes.
It is shown all over again. So like a old preacher man said, you put it in the deep freezer. You can always open it up and take it out and use it again.
Yeah. So we're going to go forward just like we have a full house, because we do. We're here, the engineer's here, and you never know, somebody might be listening in also.
Okay.
But when we talk about attachment theory, it comes under the idea, the understanding that we all have a certain capacity for connecting in relationship.
Mm-hmm.
There is an amount of relational charge, which is the same thing as getting seriously involved in a relationship, or a relationship that we crave, or the amount that we can engage safely within that relationship, and when an amount that feels like it's too much.
Okay. So we're not talking about the basics of that connection, that another area called relate. You relate through connection.
Yes.
Relationships or relationship because we connect somehow. And again, we're not talking about the physical connection.
Because that connection could be and through intellectual conversation. It could be through religious beliefs. It could be because you grew up the same way and you have a lot of things in common. High school sweethearts, things of that sort. But the relationship and the connection is going to be based on what you're bringing to the table, basically.
Well, that's part of it too. It's the energy and the belief system, the cultural connection you have about relationships too. That's very important. So this has, of course, to do with that basis of what is that, what we call it, that charge. How serious are you wanting to get involved with that relationship? How much do you really crave that person? Sometimes we have
that relationship.
Exactly. Sometimes you hear people talk about craving in such a way as, man, don't he or she look good?
Yeah.
I really like to get some of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Oh, that body looks good. Oh, he looks good. You know what I'm saying? And so we think about that relationship in that serious kind of way.
Yes. And then you have those people.
We call that what's it called when you get it serious? The physical way?
Serious, the physical way.
Oh man, you kind of remembered. Okay, keep on going.
Okay.
It will come to you.
Yeah, no, I can't.
But anyway, I mean, still, and then of course, there's the common one is, I'm in love with him. I'm in love with her.
Yeah.
And you have that kind of serious energy in such a way where you crave that person. You just can't seem to have enough of that particular person. You're around your family, you're around your friends, and they look at you like, man, you look like you love drunk or something. That. And you just
you sprung, as they used to say.
Exactly. I was trying to use the word infatuation, but I knew you just forgot about it.
Yeah. Puppy love.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Physical love.
Yeah.
But that's a description of that kind of serious craving that you have for that individual person.
But the thing that I was getting ready to say as far as craving goes, on a little different a direction of that, is sometimes there are exterior factors or external factors that cause you to crave a relationship, not necessarily the person to be in relationship with, but getting into a relationship with someone. And a lot of times that will happen, and you'll hear women talking about it. Oh, my biological clock is ticking. I got to get somebody. I got to find me somebody so I can have this child. I'm getting too old to have children. So they're craving the relationship, not necessarily to be involved with somebody in a relationship.
You mean anybody could do?
Well, not anybody. They have to have certain qualifications.
Exactly.
But the bottom line is more important than the relationship at that point. They're craving the relationship because they're craving the byproduct.
I heard that saying before. Sometimes people want a relationship just because they just want a relationship.
Yes, yeah.
They crave just having relationships, period. They're kind of afraid to be alone.
Yes,
either themselves or being single.
I call that serial monogamy.
That could be a
when
good
they
one.
go
People
from one person
who
to,
do polygamy might go, okay.
yeah, but I'm talking about the people who relationship hop.
Yes,
As soon as they
yes.
get out of one relationship, you blink and
True.
they're in another
Another one,
relationship. I
exactly.
used to tell my son he was a serial monogamist.
He
Yeah.
probably said, "What the hell?" Excuse my
Yeah.
language. What you talking about, Mama?
Yeah, he did. And I said,
You trying to say I'm fast?
you don't let one relationship end before the next thing I know you turn around and you have another girlfriend. This is crazy. You got to stop doing
No,
that.
no time for yourself. No time to breathe to at the same time
Exactly.
whatsoever.
Exactly.
Because you can. Excuse me, the phone was ringing like that too.
Yes.
I mean, and you're right. I mean, you get that push a lot about that without a relationship, or if you're not in a relationship, then something's wrong with you. And then, of
Mm-hmm.
course, those who are saying, if I'm single and I'm not in a relationship, then it's okay. And it's not really a bother to me, even though they might be still mingling with others in other relationships. The relationships could be short-term relationships
Exactly.
from that particular end. But one thing is for sure, if you got that strong and that seriousness about wanting to relate, I mean, you just really say, I gotta relate to relating.
Mm-hmm.
We just wanted to let you know that there is a theory about this, how we connect, what we crave. Because quite frankly, I use a religious term, and some people may not want to hear this. It is not good for man or woman to be alone. Notice how my voice went like that. It is not good for a man or woman to be alone.
Yeah. Oh.
So I mean, the experience as beings to relate
Yes.
is very real and always has been that
Mm-hmm.
way for us. And the importance of that, I think, is something that in turn we can't just bypass and look over,
Right.
because it's not happening. We say at the beginning of the show, you're going to relate, and we're going to
Exactly.
relate. It doesn't make a
Exactly.
difference what your mom says, what your dad says, includes excuse people who are religious, what Jesus says. You're going to relate. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to relate to
Yeah.
somebody or bodies.
Exactly.
I mean, that's part of the human experience, is for us to relate and communicate with one another, and hopefully end up sharing with one
Mm-hmm.
another in a very positive, thriving way. So because of that, hey, that relationship theory that we're talking about, going to dive deep into, is what it is.
Yes. And when you think about it, we are taught to relate and to understand how we can thrive from that relation
Mm-hmm.
from infancy. The
Mm-hmm.
minute we are born, we are expected to bond with somebody,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and specifically, get into an immediate relationship with
Mm-hmm.
someone. Hopefully it's your parents. But when that doesn't happen, there are nurses at the hospital. There
Mm-hmm.
are people who come in to nurture babies. You remember when the crack epidemic was going on, they
Yes.
had people that would come in and they would nurture and hold and hug and connect and relate to the babies who
Who
were
are already
born.
addicted from out of the womb.
Exactly. And so, relating with somebody is a natural
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
to begin with. But as we get older and we focus on different types of relationships,
Mm-hmm.
that's when other issues come in.
Well, let me
Well,
ask
not
this.
really issues, but
Well, other concerns can
other
come in.
concerns. Yes.
So let me ask you something. When did you ever, in the relationship theory thing, did you ever have a relationship charge for me, in this case, affection, fondness, or sympathy for me whatsoever? I mean, did you have that, or was it one of those things where, well, if he's coming my direction, I guess I'll go for the ride, but I ain't thinking much about it. He gonna have to come catch it, run after me.
I have never been in a situation, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'm saying this. There was a charge. There still is a charge.
Mm-hmm.
I always have this charge.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always been that person
Mm-hmm.
that I could not get into a relationship just to be in a relationship.
Okay.
It had to have been something that connected with me, something that drew me to that person. And I've had a lot of people who were, interested in being in relationship with me,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't there for me.
Mm-hmm.
With you, since you brought that up,
Mm-hmm.
yes, there was the charge. That first
I
time,
couldn't tell. No, I'm just joking.
yes, you could. That first time we talked for
Oh
over an
yeah,
hour,
yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah,
that
yeah.
conversation
That's true.
was the initial spark, the
It
initial
was. It
charge
was.
for me.
It was. It was.
So yeah, that was very special, and And
And
that
it wasn't a physical, what do we just call it? Not intimacy, but what's it called?
um um
Infatuation. It
infatuation.
wasn't at all,
No,
because it was at a
it was at a
a
Black
black,
Arts Festival.
yeah, exactly, in Denver,
Yeah,
and you were the last person I saw before I left that had to do with books.
that was because you didn't go the rest of the way.
Yeah, well, I did. Well, I stopped before I left out of the exit because you were part of the exit down there.
Yeah.
But the conversation was very passionate in interest of both of what we really
Mhm.
liked to get involved with, which
Yes.
were books
Mhm.
and
And writing.
publishing and writing and things like that. And there's definitely it was a spark, it's a charge,
Mhm.
and that's important too in our relationship when it comes to friendships. Do you have things in common? And I know people use out there that opposite attracts. Hey, don't trust that anymore. That's just
Yeah.
not good. If you're built on friendship, then you're going to find that as friends, what makes you friends, true friends, we're not talking about associates, is that you find things in common. In
Mhm.
fact, you have things in common, which is why you're a friend to one
Yeah,
another.
you have more similarities than differences.
Exactly. So
Mhm.
we had a strong friendship connection, or charge in friendship connection was because of through book writing and all that comes along with it too.
Yes.
So yeah,
As a
well, I'm
matter of
glad to
fact,
hear
it
that.
was through that conversation that he introduced me to relationship. That
Oh yeah.
relationships were more than just, "Hey, how you doing? Yeah, let's go have
How's
some
the kids? How's
coffee."
the
You
family?
know,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I was already doing a relationship um, um, blog, come to think of it, called Taking the Journey, I think it was. And I
yes.
had writers across the country who were writing for me about relationships, mainly black folks relationships.
Hmm.
At that particular time, then finding out you was a writer, I thought, well, it'd be nice to add you to the writing. What do you call it?
To your staff.
Staff. Well, not really
Mm.
staff, if you may want to call it, but they were really kind of like my team, if you may want
Yes,
to say. And
all freelance writers.
exactly,
Yeah.
and you became a very added, well needed individual, and then of course we went from there
Hmm.
and blossomed into our own relationship, and then here we are right
Yeah.
now. But no doubt about it, it is
Because for
important.
me it was different.
Hmm.
It was I needed something different
Hmm.
to try, and I have, being a fiction writer, to suddenly write something that was um not fiction, something that was nonfiction, was interesting and intriguing to me at that particular time.
Yeah, because I was definitely not into fantasy and
Well,
non
I'm
and
not into
fiction,
wasn't into fantasy
nonfiction.
either, but I fiction.
Romance stuff you wrote to me was fantasy, and I was into nonfiction, documentaries, and all that other kind of
Yeah,
real
no.
stuff. Well,
Yeah.
well, anyway, you wouldn't necessarily call it that, but I was, still am to a certain extent. I don't play.
Certain extent.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like playing games much. That's probably what the problem is from one end. So you have to, since there is a need for a balance. But I mean, many times we deem relationships unhealthy because it does not fall within what we interpret as the right amount or the right kind of
Hmm.
connection, and the other is either not enough or too much.
Right.
I mean, and pretty much in our connection when we first started, there really wasn't that balancing scale of that push and shove when it came to that. We didn't have too much of a power play that we played between one another.
Right.
But that is very well in relationships. When we, look at our relationships from the standpoint, interpreted it, well, this is either the right amount I want from this person, or is this the right kind of connection?
Hmm.
You get sometimes someone who might be too quiet. The other person in the relationship in the first meeting is much more louder,
Yeah.
more gregarious, and all that other stuff. And the other person's like, "Ooh, this is too much energy. I can't connect with the
Yeah.
person like that." And then you got it on the other one who says, "Well, this is not enough. This person doesn't talk." I remember I told you before, I was with a relationship with a young lady who looked like she was an Erica Badu kind of, woke sister, and that in turn she had plenty of, good stuff to talk about, deep stuff to talk about. And when I started, talking about issues that I knew of and stuff that I thought was deep to, converse about, and sister stopped me and said, "Oh, hold on for a minute, brother. Hold on. I just want to let you know, I don't think this is going to work out. I'm like, wow, what's going on? Yeah, I don't understand what's going on. She said, and because I said, well, why? She said, because you make me think too much.
Which
I'm like,
I
wow,
don't understand. I
that
mean,
blew me away. I'm like,
there may
really?
be subjects that I don't want to think about, that I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about,
Mm-hmm.
but the concept of not thinking
I know.
or thinking too much, but then that was, she probably did you a favor.
Yeah, probably so. I just,
You
I
know,
mean, I was,
probably did both of you a
it
favor,
kind of blew me
because you
away.
do, you speak about a lot of really deep things. You're
Mm-hmm.
constantly researching, constantly coming up with different things to feed your mind,
Mm-hmm.
and then you don't want to just keep them to yourself. You're that sharing guy.
Yes, yes.
So whatever info you take in, you want to expel it and let it out and share it with someone. And so she definitely did you both a favor.
Well, I guess you're right about that, because that was one of those situations when it came to relationship theory. Her theory was, nah, he's got too much
That's just
information
too much right
that
now.
to digest, to comprehend,
Hmm.
and I wasn't about to. Maybe she didn't want it in my body. I don't know. I didn't find out from that particular standpoint, but that's just an example
But
of
some
how
people
that
want
happens.
life simple,
Yeah,
and simple is what they can create.
yeah.
They want to go to work, they want to go home, they want to watch TV, they want to go
Mm-hmm.
out to dinner, they want to talk basic conversations with
Mm-hmm.
their friends and
That it.
lovers, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to watch the news. They don't want to um, keep up with what's going on. They don't do politics. Um, you know, they might read the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
but if the Bible's going to make them think too much about
Mm-hmm. Or
themselves, they
make them
might
feel guilty,
they
or make
might
them feel
shy
bad.
away from that too.
Exactly.
But a lot of people just want to exist rather than truly live in all
The word
aspects.
we say, they just want to survive. They don't necessarily want
Yes,
to thrive.
yes,
They
yes.
just want to survive. And a healthy relationship, a balanced relationship, is not about just trying to survive.
Hmm.
It's about thriving, which is
Right.
growing and expanding in your life and with the people that you relate to.
Exactly.
There is a lot of information out there about these kind of styles.
Hmm.
The present relationship dynamics usually links this whole thing, the relationship theory or
Yeah.
the connection theory, to early childhood attachment experience. I always say more than once, and it's said too in this arena, that your childhood experience with your parent,
Siblings.
well, your parent guys the first time,
Yeah.
whether they be blood or not.
Hmm.
Okay, because some people grow up in foster homes.
Hmm.
Those mothers or fathers or whatever the symbols that they represent, it could be two mothers, two fathers, whatever it may be, especially today, have everything to do with how you attach in relationship.
Right.
Maybe your mother and father, or it could be just a mother came out of a single parent home like I did. Maybe your attachment, which was the first example, was your mom was aloof.
Hmm.
Meaning she really wasn't close. She
Right.
didn't open up much about her feelings. She pretty much told you what to do, not necessarily did anything what she said, but just much told you what to do, and wasn't really close to when it comes to emotions. I'm giving this example,
Hmm.
especially single parent, out of uh, people who came out of single parent families, like I did, and my mom was a lot like that. So therefore, from that particular end, when you related and wanted to relate it to the example of another woman, you pretty much expect in the relationship side, you better not get close, or pretty much they're not going to really get close much to you anyway.
Hmm.
Because my first example as a woman, a black woman in this case, was we don't get close to you.
Right.
We don't connect to
Right.
you. You just do what we ask you to do, and
Hmm.
this is how it
And leave it at
rolls.
that.
Exactly. And so you pretty
Hmm.
much, I mean, there's a lot of guys I know who have related from my age and younger. So young guys are still doing the same thing too, in their own way. When they relate to another particular woman, they pretty much like, man, I'm not gonna open much. I'm not gonna say much. I'm gonna be pretty much to myself and do my thing, because they don't want to hear much from me anyway. They really want
Yeah.
to connect with me much anyway. And that came from how the mom treated them. And
Hmm.
so they're not knowing, or I say the woman that they're with are not knowing, well, how come he ain't talking to me? How come he's not open up to me? How come he's not relating to me? It's because of the first parental example being the mom was doing the same thing to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, we have to definitely take that into consideration, how we grew up. And looking at this, I see a lot of how my growing up
Mm.
changed or had an imprint on how I deal in a relationship.
So how did your mom relate to you? Because I know you said you had a blended family, and most of the males in your family were seen but not really heard.
Mm.
So how did your mom and you say you call your grandma? How did they relate to you and give you an example of how you should relate in relationships?
Yeah, it was an extended family. We
Mm-hmm.
we had there were 3 generations in my house, and they
Mm-hmm.
were all from the time I was 7 years old on. It
Mm-hmm.
was all female, um, and it was my on my mother's side of the
Mm-hmm.
family. It was my mother's mother, my mother, and my sister and me.
Mm-hmm.
Relating. There was always love and conversation, and but there was also the ability to grow into who you were, or who you felt you were to be,
Mm-hmm.
without a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So it was okay. I was a lap child. Let's just put it that way. I
Mm-hmm.
was always sitting in somebody's lap,
Mm-hmm.
and I was always welcome in that lap, and snuggling and cuddling and hugging and things like that,
Okay.
as I was growing up.
Okay. So what you're saying is that your kind of upbringing from a what they call a nurturing point of view was there was a lot of caressing through touch, which means you got to see a lot of affection
Hmm.
and your connection relationship. So that does tell me what's one of the reasons why you like that touch, cuddle, and all that good stuff that you got from your parental example being your mom
Hmm.
from that end, and you kind of carry it with you. Now, you don't necessarily always give it back as well because you probably
Yeah,
didn't really been pushed to have to because it was
exactly.
always done for you and
Yes.
not necessarily said, "Would you come back and give me a hug and kiss too to make it part
Exactly.
of life?" That's what I thought.
Or
Yeah.
I was free to do that,
Mm-hmm.
without any feeling of I got to do it. It was just one of those
Oh,
things that
really?
that I did when certain people came in, they were getting a
Mm-hmm.
hug. When you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, it was nothing for me to um, go when my surrogate father figure was at the house and sitting on the sofa, for me to
Mm-hmm.
go and sit right up under him, and he would
Mm-hmm.
welcome me there,
Mm-hmm.
and it was nothing to say, no, no pushing away, no
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. It was always okay if it's where you want to sit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's
Well,
fine.
but even though with that, because in a relationship it is two ways.
Hmm.
Freely you receive.
Yeah.
Freely you also give. It's a
Yes.
two-way street.
Yes.
I see you asking kids at school, and in turn, some of the god grandchildren now we have for them to hug you
Hmm.
before they
Yes.
go. So you
Yes.
also see that as being a necessary thing for them also to
Hmm.
learn,
Yes.
because relationship is two ways, not just one way from
Exactly.
that end. So even
Exactly.
though you did get that, I know that later on in life, at least I've seen it in later on in life, you also see that's also part of that other side of the coin that has to do with sharing. That which in turn you
Yes.
receive, you
Yes.
give back because that's part of the sharing
Hmm.
cycle, if you may want to call
Right.
in life, that we have to always stay involved with. So
Hmm.
there's a balance on both particular side. So all I can say is give out a little more hugs. Just a little more of that. I don't want you to sit in my lap. I ain't worried about that. And no, I'm
See,
not sitting in your lap either.
and now I can break a knee now.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
at the time I was small and undersized. So,
but but
this,
but you
this,
you understand what I'm saying, because
yes.
a lot of people on that area, when it comes to that freely side, they usually use the free side on that one side of the coin. That
Hmm.
is, I freely take what you give to me, and
Right.
I have no problem, and you shouldn't be worried about it coming back from me.
Right.
No, there's two sides of the coin.
Hmm.
Then you should also be that coin if you're just
Yeah.
comfortable to freely give that back in
And
return.
I did when I
From
was
that end,
growing
that's
up. I
part.
was,
That's called sharing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I gave it back very freely. Growing up, I hope I gave it freely to my children when they were growing up. Um, you never know with your
Mm-hmm.
children unless you sit down and point blank ask them. but most of us are afraid to do that.
Exactly. The biggest or the most important link that we have to understand, all early childhood attachment experiences have everything to do with how we relate or how we attach in relationship.
Yes.
And that's where we look at. I mean, sure, there are different styles. Well, 4 different styles we're going to talk about when it comes to attachment styles, and all of them have everything to do with how it came about in our younger years with our parents or whoever was our parent in our life, whether they were blood or not blood. Before we get into that, because this is going to be part one, because we've got so much to talk about, let's give people some insight about where we are, where they can hear from us and other places. Sharon.
Okay. And as you can see scrolling across the bottom on Facebook, it's www.facebook.com/ttjtogether. Instagram is www.instagram.com/takingthejourneytogether. And our website is takingthejourney-together.com. I knew I was going to mess up. And the email is ttjt@takingthejourney-together.com.
Exactly.
And
what?
You can hear us also on Saturday mornings.
Oh, yes.
On WRUU, which is a radio station, a local radio station here. And you can hear us from 9 to 10 every Saturday morning. Sometimes it's the same topic that we're having here. Most of the time it is not. But you can also go back and check the archives from those shows. We've been doing that for, let's see, since 2019. So about 3 years. Almost.
Yeah, I think it's about 3 years. Yeah, it's been a little while.
About 2.5, a good 2.5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. On that particular note, after I wait for some notes to open up, I don't know why it's taking so long to open up, but we got something special that we decided to go ahead and start.
Yes.
And this special thing that we want to go ahead and start has everything to do with relationships from the standpoint of, yeah, see if we can get that, since this other thing is
not happening.
Yeah, it's why are we not surprised that it's going to be that way?
Exactly, because it's something good.
No, it's right there. You're getting past it. Let's get over there. Okay. Anyway, we are going to start from today. We are going to feature the Thriving Healthy Couple of the Week. Okay. So from today on, if you feel that you are a thriving and healthy couple who's been listening to our show and picking up the elements, the knowledge that you feel has been helping your relationship out, or you might have already had a healthy relationship and it's more like, yes, I know this is a confirmation. Okay. Then we want you to let us know either at this site or enter at the email address we gave you. Again, what was the email address?
The email address is ttjt@takingthejourney-together.com.
Exactly. Send us a picture of yourself as a couple. Also, we want you to put down what is the reason, in the short, of course, what is the reason why you feel that you are a thriving couple, a healthy relationship couple.
Yes.
And we will, with your permissions, put your picture up as a couple, because there's other couples out there we know who are operating or trying to move with these elements in life, and it's besides hopefully what we have given to you to confirm what you have or help you move on to it. Other people want to know. We know we're not the only one to at the same time. And of course, if that happens, we'll give you that free hot button. Show it again. Free hot button. You get a free hot button so that when you are out, you let people know, hey, we're a hot couple. We're a hot couple.
Yes.
And then you can let them know some of the special things that you do or are doing to keep your relationship hot, and pass it on so this can become contagious and continuous too at the same time. We felt that's very, very important. Okay, so let's move on to start with, and we won't be able to get into all of them, but
because there are 4 of them.
Exactly. But we're going to start with the first one,
and we're talking attachment styles here. So for those of you who came in later, we're talking about the attachment theory, And so now we're getting ready to talk about one of the 4 attachment styles.
Exactly. Okay, the first one is the secure, grounded in self, able to move between states. Hey, I got states. States of connection and disconnection with ease and eternal safety, able to maintain the sense of separate self within a relationship. Let's stop on that one. That's fun.
Yes.
We decided to start with the best so we can have a good example to begin with, okay, to help us out. So a grounded self, secure one, is if that person is acting like they want to connect to me or not, either my wife or my mate, or just in life or not, I know how to stay connected, or if they are not connected to me, I know how to not disconnect or not connect to them.
Right.
Hold back, give them some space. Don't necessarily try to cram with them, okay? Especially since they might be uncomfortable with someone being too on, if you may want to say, or being too into me because of something might be going on, death in the family, not feeling good, or you might have some baggage with you, so you just really can't relate that well in the first kind of place. You hope that if you're in a trying to move or create a healthy relationship, you not necessarily have that person in a consistent way, because it'd be codependent, really.
Yes.
But people go through different phases and different seasons in life. Someone could lose a family member, someone can lose even something to do with them in an accident, so they're not going to always feel and be like themselves. That grounding that you need in a relationship that makes you feel comfortable and trusting, they might be just plainly out of whack.
Yeah. Or sometimes you may be in, the relationship, everything is fine, and there's not really anything wrong, but you just want some time to yourself. This is my pedicure time, or this is my time to do whatever that you're not necessarily interested in, that your partner's not necessarily interested in, but you have the opportunity to disconnect and do what
hobbies
thrills you. Yeah, your
hobbies.
hobbies.
Usually hobbies are the best way to just give a good example. Though in a lot of relationships, sadly, people don't have many hobbies.
Right.
Sadly, in fact, today a lot of people don't have any hobbies. A lot of kids
do
know,
not
they
know
don't
what
know what a
hobbies
hobby
are.
is. If I'm not making money off of something, I'm going to do something that's different. What in my life that's not going to make me money? Are you kidding me?
I often
Hobbies.
ask students, what are you, because they want to go to college, but they don't know what they want to go to college for. And I said, well, what are you interested in? What do you like to do? What are your hobbies? And the minute I say hobbies, I get this look like I'm speaking a different language that is archaic, and they've never heard of it before. And I literally have to explain to them what a hobby is. And you know what their answer is usually?
What's that?
Sleep.
Whoa.
And I say, sleeping is not a hobby. that unless you are going to spend your life going through
sleep studies.
That's exactly what I tell them. Sleep studies where you're getting paid for it. That's not a career field. So you need to find something else that you enjoy doing, something that you do without being told to do it, but they do not know what hobbies are.
That secure style that we're referring to, of course, has everything with you keeping a sense of self, separate self, or just self anyway.
Yes.
Because
it's
very obvious, unless you're twins, even soul ties,
and
twin flames, or even twins. No, you two are not exactly the same anyway. But you have a sense of self in that relationship. And that sense of self, hopefully, with a thriving relationship, a healthy relationship, your sense is hopefully built on a spiritual, inspirational self that has to do with who you are, connection to maybe your God or goddesses, or your spirit in that kind of way. So that kind of grounding that you have is, even if this other person kind of moves and falters or is out of season, it doesn't change from the standpoint of knowing who I am in the process of trying to seek to do that. Because some of us understand that it's a process in life to seek who we are, because we are always growing to know and knowing to grow. That's part of the
Right.
expansion.
Right.
But you have that grounding first of that I am a being and a human that has a right to be who I am, just existing, and then growing and expanding from there.
Right.
And you can't let, and you shouldn't let other human beings try to say differently, because it's literally impossible unless they try to take your life.
Right.
But even at that, you're still going to exist.
Mhm.
But still, that is very, very important to have that sense of grounding. And if you come up in that relationship, as they talked about before, where your parent relationships don't actually show that, then you're not going to have that real understanding, that grounding for your own self.
Right.
And in that relationship, you're going to have a hard time trying to relate to that. You're going to pretty much either go along for the ride, that if this person changed their emotion, I'm changing my emotions too, just to keep up with them, or what they call track them. And of course, when that happens, if he's upset or she's upset, then everybody's upset.
Yeah.
The whole house is
Right.
kind of messed up. They say birds of the feather, what? Flock together.
Yes.
So we're trying to say the indication that that healthy relationship, or in this say the one that has to do with grounding, is basically you understand, even in my relationship and I'm connecting or relating to that other person, I know that I have a sense of self. Now, many of us are trying to learn more of our sense of self. No doubt about that.
Yes.
No doubt
Yes.
about that. Especially if you're trying to move in a thriving and healthy
Right.
relationship. Your process in life is trying to get to know more of who you are and your purpose in life and who
Right.
you are. And with that, it brings what? More grounding and sense of you in this world,
Right.
and connection to not only your mate or whoever else you want to connect to. What do you think about? What do you think about that?
I agree with that. And one of the things that go along with that is, what when you were talking about understanding your sense of self.
Mhm.
But you also, when you're in relationship, you have to understand where the other person is within the four attachment styles that we're going to talk about.
Mhm.
Because just because you have a strong, secure sense of self does not mean that your partner does.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, so you may be ready to disconnect, but they see that disconnection as abandonment,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it's like, no, I just want to read a book,
Mhm.
or no, I just want to play my music or something,
Mhm. Mhm.
get into my music with my headphones on, something like that. It's let's come back. So maybe, you sometimes in those situations, if you understand that as a part of something that your partner is dealing with, where they're not as secure, you have to set up a time. Hey, sweetie,
Mhm.
I'm gonna listen to my music for about an hour, and then
Mhm.
we're gonna come back together and just spend some time with each other.
That statement went that there goes back to when we were talking about bridge statements. That would be a very good bridge statement to say
Yes.
in that situation where you have someone that's kind of insecure
Mm-hmm.
of that, because it's happened before,
Right.
as part of how they grew up, or in relationships that
Mm-hmm.
have caused that kind of dysfunctionality.
Right.
So those, although, and we had this subject before when we talked about bridge statement, because that particular kind of bridge statement that you talked about, especially if someone is in that dysfunctional kind of stage,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll bring that up as for dysfunction when it comes to attachment theory, then the bridge statement that you said can even be attached to, I am still on your side. I'm still connected to you.
Right.
Yet, but right now, can I have had this time, or not? Can I? I'm going to take this time, or is it, probably better word? Is it all right that I take this time?
Mm-hmm.
Because that other individual may have something set up for you to be able to do,
Right.
and in turn, you may not know anything about it whatsoever, and that could be what's going on.
Exactly.
And if you don't say anything and give that communication part,
Mm-hmm.
then the other person who may have that but disattachment problem, abandonment problem, go in the background, not necessarily in the foreground, but in the background, go, they abandoned me again with this
Yeah.
particular
And
project.
all these
I'm going
things
to
are
do this
starting
on
to
my
roll
own.
in the
And it's
back.
happened before in the past,
Yes.
yada, 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 yada. Because you didn't make a good bridge statement. So, no, we're
Exactly.
still connected. We're still in the same team. I know the project you got to do at the time that we're both doing together. Hey, I'm just going to do this and this, but I'll be back to take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's been that kind of situation that happened with us, because we do a lot of projects, and many of the projects I'm usually leading, I in
Yes.
turn have created. I
Mhm.
in turn many times have to stay on top of it, especially since you work full time from 8. Well, it ain't no 8 to 5 being a
No.
teacher, no doubt about it. But you don't have that much time and energy to put in,
Right.
assertive or not. And a lot of projects that I'll come up, and I know at the same time you will come along sometimes for the ride,
Oh yeah.
no doubt about it.
I
But
come along doing my bit to make it
well, you like the
successful.
ride. You like
Yes,
the ride. I
I
mean, it's a good
do.
ride, no
Yeah,
doubt about it.
yeah.
You enjoy
But
it.
I'm involved as much
Yes,
as
you
I
can, as
can
much
be.
as you can.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so when that happens, then the abandonment thought that you were talking about
Mhm.
could be because we got a project we started together. I created it in such a way for you to be part of it. And all of a sudden you got something to do, or you have something else you're going to do. You haven't necessarily made a good bridge statement. And I'm
Mhm.
wondering, hey, what's happening here? I'm feeling abandonment again. This happened before in the past. This project, something we both said we're going to do together in the community,
Yes.
yada, yada, yada. So that's a bridge statement thing we talked about before. That's very, very
Mhm.
important. But no doubt about it, with that secure grounding in it, on your side, understanding that, and the person on the other side having that grounding, because we're talking about relating,
Right.
and relating in this case is two people, not just one,
Mhm.
because we're talking about relationship theory. Then both will have that better understanding
Right.
when they both have that grounding that, hey, that person needs that time to himself, and the pressures that are involved with all the other projects is putting a lot of pressure on them. Let me hold back on it. I may need to even take a break from all of this
Yes.
for
Yes.
my own sanity too at the same
Mhm.
time, to still stay saying,
Stay sane.
say, I'm ready to
Yeah.
sing myself saying because I basically can't save everybody, so I have to be able to make sure I save myself for myself.
First. Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, I was saying this to somebody not long ago,
Hmm.
talking about, maybe it was even you, I'm not sure, but they were talking about people, trying to save everybody. And
Hmm.
I said, think of your life as being on a airplane that's going down. What do they say? They say, put your mask on first,
Hmm.
and then you can save those who are not able to save
I
themselves.
probably wouldn't do that. I would probably, if we were in an airplane and we were going down, you were beside me, I would probably put the mask on you first,
I I
and then I'd be me. I mean, that's just
I
how
know
I would roll.
that's counterproductive, but that's your
Counterproductive.
it is, because
Wow.
what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to save you if you're spending that time saving me first. Here's the thing, but if you save yourself, if you put something on to
I don't
yourself,
see it that
I
way.
know you
I
don't.
don't,
I know
and
you
that's
don't.
why there's that's
And
why as we go on, we find out
yes.
later on in this relationship attachment theory
Mhm.
that there's some dysfunction on both particular
Yeah.
sides that we both have.
Yes.
Because to me, if you are only concerned about yourself first in a relationship and the other person is second, then what happens is you have two wrongs that doesn't make that one person
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And
there is a balance
it
in this
definitely
in this
is.
particular
Yeah.
case. You know what the balance would be?
What's the
Well,
balance?
first of all, you want to make sure that you have two air breathers for both to
Yeah.
breathe in,
Yeah.
and they're working.
Yeah.
And then you both make sure you take your time to put it on.
Exactly. Exactly. That was one of the things I was going to. If I can put mine on myself, I'm okay.
That's not what you said.
I was going.
You said you're gonna put one on for yourself, and then maybe come to me.
No.
No.
I said those who are incapacitated. You put it on yourself and then put it on.
If I was incapacitated, I wouldn't be able to put it on myself. If you was incapacitated, I would definitely put it on you first. If internet was going to, get you alive,
Yeah. Yeah.
and especially
You know what?
especially if there was one source left
I say that, but
from that
I
particular
would
end.
too. I'm not even going.
If there was one source left, but if both of us are
Mhm.
alive and the plane's
Mhm.
going down and both of the air things come out, then I would hope we both put it on for our
Yeah.
own self and
We'll
not try to
grab together.
exactly. We
Yeah.
can switch on both sides.
Yeah.
But see, the important thing in this case to me is that you keep that safety secure line
Mhm.
grounded in yourself.
Exactly.
Because if you had that safely secure line in yourself from that standpoint, being healthy, okay, we're talking
Mhm.
about being healthy,
Yeah.
then part of your healthiness connecting to that love that's a spiritual love, it's going to move you in such a way. And you started the first time we talked about where you're going to want to share. You see, if you look at love from the standpoint of being self-centered only to yourself, then yeah, whenever push comes to shove, something comes, a life death situation, you're only going to think about yourself.
Right.
You're not going to think about someone else.
Right.
You don't want to be with a person like that whatsoever. No, you wouldn't want me to be that way if that was what
Absolutely
I was like.
not.
No, the kind of love we're talking about, the kind of love that is a not a selfless love, is a love that's based on, if I'm full of that love, I'm full of that kind of energy, then I'm going to want to share.
Exactly.
My life is all about sharing.
Exactly.
Now there's a balance because we're talking about attachment theory. No doubt
your
about it.
well-being,
There's a balance that's involved.
Yes, and your well-being really comes before mine.
Oh, really? That's a new one.
Yes. Well, it shouldn't be.
Well, you said that at the
should know
beginning,
that.
but a few minutes ago you were saying, nah, I'm gonna make sure I get myself first.
No, I'm saying if
Mhm.
if I'm going to have to make
Hold on.
sure I'm keeping you alive, that's what I'm going to have.
Okay. Hey, we don't need to, continue to discuss this right now because our particular producer in the background, she's new. Thank you. She's been paying attention. That's a good thing. Or
Yes.
tell Julia she's paying attention. We've got about another minute,
don't.
under 30 seconds to go because we've got 57, and we're going to discuss this more. Hey, you guys keep on this discussion in your relationship. You got here a few minutes ago that even when we talk about relationships, even when we talk about balanced relationships, even talking about theory, we still can find out in our relationships, we have some things that we may feel differently. But one thing hopefully you can agree upon, sharing with one another is where that basis, if you're true friends to one another, you're going to want to share with one another and not just keep things to your own self, right?
Right.
All right.
And we're in this plane together.
All right. Hold on. Okay, we got to go. Thank you very much. God bless too. Nashe.
like this.